Hello, welcome to this edition of EMS Now Up Close. Today it's my pleasure, I think, to speak again with Everett Frank. Everett is the CEO of Digisource. But first I'm going to allow Everett to introduce himself, then we'll talk about the new company that he has started with a new solution for the industry. So Everett, it's good to see you. Why don't you begin by introducing yourself and talk about your background in the electronics manufacturing industry?
Okay, great, Eric, and great to see you again. Thanks for having me on. I always enjoy and learn things talking with you. I've been in electronics distribution for companies like Avnet and Arrow, and then into contract manufacturing. I've run EMS businesses, etc. Starting in what would have been 2019, the end of 2019, we started Digisource. Largely with the intention of being a software company with a focus on matching EMS companies and OEMs. And then the pandemic hit and followed quickly by the great component shortage. And then everyone's interest became, how do I find parts? So we basically spent 2 years effectively in the broker business, and that died down last year, and we pivoted back to software just as ChatGPT splashed on the screen and on the scene. And now we spent the past year looking at how can this, I think it's the most transformative technology that's ever come along. And we've been looking at how can we apply it to sourcing.
Okay, excellent. So the solution is SnapChip. And what you did, I find very interesting. That's why I wanted to talk to you because the use of AI or the application of AI in electronics manufacturing has been varied, and I think in different elements. And if you go to a trade show, everybody has AI as part of their solution and part of the marketing these days. But there's a difference, I think, with some of it that's doing like the machine learning is one application of AI. But what you've done that I find so interesting is you've taken kind of the generative AI, kind of as you said, the ChatGPT, and found an application for that within electronics manufacturing. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of big words there. The Yeah, we're maybe a little more prosaic. We're like, how can a buyer use this technology to make their day better? How can we take tasks and assign it to an assistant to go execute within our existing processes? So we're not looking to change the world or to tear out your ERP system or to be give us a napkin and we'll give you an electronic product. Well, we're doing more straightforward things about how can your processes that you're already doing, how can AI help execute those processes?
Okay. Now, I know you have a few slides that we're going to ask you to show, kind of to overview that. But as you're pulling those up, let me just say, like you say, you're trying to help execute existing processes. And when we were talking before, you used the term optimized for sourcing.
Yeah.
Speak to that.
I think there's a real distinction between sourcing and selection when it comes to electronic components. I really believe the selection of electronic components belongs in the design tools, either at schematic capture, but certainly at CAD, where you're already seeing it. I think the most advanced I've seen on this is probably Altium 365, and the others are going to be right behind it. Where you can, as you're making a component selection in your CAD software, it's going to go bink and it's going to give you, the attribute information pulled from like Silicon Expert or Z2 or Accurus IHS. So you're going to see all that in the design tool. And I think that's going to be transformative because you're going to get much better data than moving forward to supply chain. But we're not focused on that part. That part really involves attribute matching, footprint matching, things like that.
Okay. Good. And it's a good distinction to make, I think so. Did you want to show your slides at this point? Did you have those you could pull up? There
Absolutely.
we go.
So this is just a quick way to describe what we do. A shorthand for it is we can take any input and we can give any output. Now that's a little bit facetious, but the AI can read any Excel or CSV and bring it in and do something with it. So we can take a part number, we can take a BOM, we can take a buy action list out of the ERP, we can take a shortage report, and on the output side, you might be chatting with it on an on-screen chat interface. You might download a report that you want to do something with. A great use is downloading it as a template where you've told it, I want the columns to be in this order and I want the columns to be named that. So then it can now be imported into or passed directly to some other part of your software process. Or if you're really out there, you can return it as JSON or XML and really do machine type things with it, right?
Okay.
A part number you might mostly do in a chat interface. So you can tell it things like, please tell me the country of origin and summarize the compliance status. And you would be chatting with the part. In the case of a bomb, you might say, please do a health check and inform me of any problems, and you get a report right back. And these are quite fast. On a buy list, you might say, tell me which parts DigiKey has in stock and make a spreadsheet in the DigiKey format. And DigiKey has its own, they all have their own little quirks of how they want to import it. But in this case, when you're doing it with AI, you can just tell it how you want the format. So like in DigiKey, there's going to be a step where you do column matching, where you go say, this is the classic way of doing it when you import a spreadsheet. It says, column A is supposed to be this. I think it's that. And you got to go column match, and then you can import. Well, you don't have to do any of that with AI. It just figures all that out and does it. So that's a good way to do it. So broadly speaking, this is sort of a little bit more detailed, but we think of it as our REAP framework. So what SnapChip is doing kind of under the hood, if you will, is it's reading any Excel or CSV or part number, and it automatically identifies the relevant content and uploads it. So no BOM matching, no column matching, anything like that. That information then gets enriched with data. So then we can take the BOM and we can find all the real-time pricing information or literally hundreds of attributes. Another great case is to also supplement SnapChip with your inventory or your AVL. So now we can read that also and then consider that when it's doing things. And then the next thing it can do is analyze that information. It can reason across that information and come back. We'll give you some examples in a minute, but you can go back and ask questions and do what if scenarios, things like this, really all based on how much you've enriched the data. And the last thing to do is you can print it, you can output it. And the neat thing about the output side is you can do that in natural language. So you can say, I want these columns. If I'm going to do a BOM health check, I don't need all the European compliance data, so I don't want that. And I want the columns all in this order. These little things that you can do, but that's what makes it, we think, the ability for you to put it in a format that's most useful to your situation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's what I like. And thank you for that because, and I used the silly example before we started here that, about teasing out the information is based or getting the answer you desire is dependent on the questions you're asking, right? And I use the example with my Google Home. Oftentimes I argue with my Google Home trying to get an answer. And it takes a few iterations for me to ask the right question to get an appropriate answer. And that's why I like the language model, right? The verbal interaction that you have going here. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
speak to that and maybe show a demo. I know that you have some examples. I don't know if you want to call it a case study, but a demo that you could do for that.
Yeah, we'll show you real quick. And I think you make a really good point, Eric. And what I always kind of tell people is when you're working with prompting or talking to ChatGPT or talking to SnapChip, you want to think about what it can do, not what it can't do. You want to focus on what's possible. What can I figure out if I phrase it right, if I phrase it differently, right? If you're the kind of person that wants to say, well, it can't do this and that, then it's not going to be the tool for you. You're going to need to be the kind of
And you're
person that
right.
goes, yeah, how can I
Yeah.
do something amazing with that? So this is SnapChip when you are logged into SnapChip, and it is we've already preloaded a part number. So in the case of like a contract manufacturer, if you're looking at individual part numbers, you're probably looking for stock, or you're looking for alternates. So we'll just do kind of the cases really quick. So you might be looking to input more. Sorry, there we go. You might be looking for a specific quantity of parts, and you can go like that, and SnapChip is going to go out and answer that question. I think it's slow today. It's another quirk with the
And while you're doing that too, talk about the dirt now. So ChatGPT has various iterations, right, of their model, assumingly getting better and better each iteration. Is that where are you guys at with it?
Yeah, we use both, but most of the more complex reasoning at all requires GPT-4. There's some very basic things we can do with GPT 3.5, or things where we're doing chains where we're asking it one question and then another question. We can use 3.5. Um, this issue of finding the right price requires GPT-4 and a number of chains. It's a surprisingly complex. But that's one of the things you can do. You're probably first looking for this kind of information as a buyer if you're coming in to look for it. Down here, we also show all the offers that are sorted by what's the best price. I won't go into that in a bunch of depth, but you have the general data as well. Another thing you might be doing is looking for alternates or that kind of thing. So on this one, I'm going to say, what is the case? And I'm going to do this because I'm going to cut down what's in my library. So I have a part library that's already loaded. So for this component, this is an MSOP. And so I might say, show me options for MSOP that are active. And so now this is interesting kind of from an AI case, because this is not going in and pulling it from data. This is the AI is examining this part family and coming back and saying, these are relevant things about this part family. And in this part family, here's everything that's active and that's MSOP. So it's not pulling it from the table at all. It's creating this table from the data. In this case, I think there's 43 different options for this part, and it's coming back and telling you just these. So it narrows that down. You might also want to look for alternates, right? So you can come down and it'll say get alternates and come back and give you a price and information. It'll get the alternates. We use Silicon Expert as our data source for these. We enrich their alternates with stock, average price, and lead time. They draw a distinction between alternates and replacements, and so we're kind of been faithful to that. Generally speaking, alternates means another manufacturer, replacement means the existing manufacturer. And same thing, we enrich this information with stock and average lead time. So really quickly, you have that information. Now, in this case, there is a part called the arm there that's got stock, right? So I might think, gosh, is that a part that I can use? So I'm currently working on this ZRL7 one, right? So I'm going to say, compare to that part. And now SnapChip is going to go and ask if that's a good comparison. This is usually what a buyer's going to do, right? We're not doing an engineering level thing here. We're
Right.
doing the question of, I'm a buyer, I'm a materials person. Is this a reasonable part to send to engineering? That's really the question that we're asking, right? And so in this one, you find that we have a ROSE compliance issue. So I probably can't accept that part, right? Another very common use case for this kind of comparison is I'm shopping for one part and a distributor says, what about this other part? And you need to answer the question is, what's the difference between these parts, right? Well, you just ask, and now you've got the answer to that.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
so, and you can literally ask anything you want about an electronic component, you know, a single component, right? So these are preloaded queries we put here. You can go down and customize these queries to view whatever you want. But if compliance is something you want to know, you know, countries of origin this is a very difficult piece of information to get. And in this case, you just put it in, and now you know country of origin. So you really, you know, you're really speeding up what you can accomplish on an individual part. I'm going to move to talking about bombs next. Any questions about individual parts before I move on?
No, 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 no. This is great to see it kind of the show and tell, I think is a great way to bring it to life for people.
Yeah.
Now, and by the way, as an audience, I realize you can't read everything that he's doing there, but I think his narrative and the demonstration still makes the point. So go ahead, Everett.
So here we're just bringing in a really small bomb for speed. And when the bomb first comes in, you can scroll down. You can scroll down and see what it's brought in. Here, you can see the part number matching, so you know if it was able to do it. So if you're, say, a EMS company and the customer's emailed you a bomb, you can literally drop it in, and this fast, you can go and say, these part numbers, there's something wrong with that part number, something we've got to figure out. The next thing you might want to do, if you're literally, you could be on the phone with a customer, you can do check bomb health. And this is going to come back and tell you things about the bomb. The things it's going to tell you are the things that you've asked it to tell you when you've reconfigured this prompt. So you might want it not to want to know all this information about it, but it will come back and tell you whatever set of information is most relevant for you. So you're on the phone and you can say, yeah, that one is not ROSE compliant. You can go through it'll go through the whole bomb and do that. Similarly, you could say, I'm going to price that bomb for you. And now it will go price it at the bomb level and come back and give you extended quantity PERS, et cetera. And really, same thing, you can go enrich this with additional data, et cetera. And you can also imagine enriching it with your inventory data as an example. So you could say, yeah, we've already got this in stock and we can do it. This enables what if scenarios. You can now type in what if scenarios and go, you know, can I build 100 of these, or what would I have to go buy, because you're comparing it to your on-hand inventory, right? So you can kind of go crazy. As you have a library of parts in there too, another common case in a contract manufacturer is, do I have something else I need? I'm going to say I need a 10 microfarad cap, 35 volt, and the approved supplier doesn't have it. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask it for the library part. So I'm going to ask, do I have a 10 mic 35 volts in my library? So that's equivalent to my AVL or my stock list, right? So it can go back through everything in my stock and say, yeah, I've got this part. You could, I don't enrich this with inventory, but it could be returning inventory as well. So you can do a lot of things that are very helpful to a CM.
Wow.
Any questions about any of that?
No, I mean it strikes me that the trick with ChatGPT, just like my Google Home, is knowing the questions to ask. And you used the term in there, by the way, of chaining, right? Explain a little more about that, because that's really a matter of what? Asking a series of questions to pull it together to get to where you're trying to find out.
Yeah. The truth is, it's as much as LLMs are hyped, they're only, there's things they're good at and there's things they're not so good at. And one of the things that we're trying to do is get objective data that needs to be 100% correct 100% of the time. And it's not summarizing or writing a nice email, right? And so trying to get it to do that is a much different challenge than trying to get it to nicely summarize a PDF. right? And they're only so capable, frankly. 3.5 isn't really capable at all. 4 can go a couple levels deep where there's a couple of dependencies. But pricing, as an example, has too many dependencies. If you want to know the price for something, you need to know the quantity, you need to know the min and the mult, you need to know the packaging, and then you need to compare that across all the offers for that part. It's not capable of doing it. It just isn't. But if you break it down into steps and you first say, tell me everything that's got inventory, and then tell me all the price for this, then you have a chaining effect. It also works really well at the BOM or list level, right? So let's say you had a buy list, however, a buy action report. You could put your buy action report in and say, show me everybody who's got inventory, which is
Okay.
about the best way to go about it. And it would come back and give you every distributor for every part on your list and who's got stock. So now you sort of know, depending upon your processes, how you're gonna go. And now you can take that same output, download it as Excel, and literally drop it right back into SnapChip and ask it to price it from there, because now it's already got the distributor information and price information. So by that kind of chaining, now once you've figured out a process like that you were happy with, we can then also behind the scenes add it into the system. So you can prompt it one time, but you'd first have to figure out, work with it to get the chain that works in your process. And the big issue is everybody's got a different process. And
Yeah,
even if
right.
people are using the same software, they've got a different process to go about it.
Yeah. So at the end of the exercise, a purchasing person, has figured it out, said, okay, this is a solution. They cannot then purchase it through your platform?
No, no. We provide links so you can. We provide two ways for going forward. I mean, honestly, most people are using more the download and putting it into their own. As they say, everybody's got a different process at that point, especially if you're buying a list. But if you were buying a set of discrete components, let's say, or you had a list of parts that way, we have a functionality called My List where you can add it kind of like as a note on the side, and then download that at the end of the day. If you might go looking for parts during the day and you want to make the DigiKey cutoff. And so you've got your list, and now you're gonna send it off, and it will preserve that list for you. And we also provide direct links to the distributor. So if you wanted to click, I want this one from Arrow, you can go to Arrow and add it into your Arrow shopping cart as an example.
Okay, that's very good. Now, we had talked before the pricing for this. Did you want to speak about that?
Oh yeah, they didn't really do that on there, did they? To me, this is one of the more remarkable things. So for a smaller operation with like 1,000 active parts, it's less than $500 to be doing this. And even for a larger operation with 5,000 plus parts, you'd be under $1,000. At 5,000 plus parts, we talk to you differently. We start talking about using we'd be suggesting you get the data directly from Silicon Expert or Z2, et cetera, in which case SnapChip would be $500 again. It's, I mean, to me, you just can't imagine getting, that you don't get that kind of value out of the tool. And it's because the capability is so inexpensive. It's just a question of, finding a way to use this capability and take advantage of it.
Right. And listen, this is still a new platform that you've rolled out and launched, and I know there are users on it. But what type of improvements do you anticipate making?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a complex question. Much hinges on what's going to happen really this summer. We expect GPT-5 or something equivalent is going to come out. And depending upon how performant it is and the size of their context windows, it's called, and the cost will be an element that will sort of inform what we can do. If things stay like they are, we would put more development time into chains and using the existing capabilities and chaining those to get more advanced capabilities. So on the what is possible side, we have to see what happens. On the what do people need side, and that will also be the huge question. What do they most want to do? Do they most want to interact with it, for instance, in chat format on the screen? Do they most want to get reports or templates out of it? Or do they most want to have more backroom connections where it's returning JSON, XML, and putting that back into their system? So from that side, it's going to be user driven. We can follow whatever the market wants.
Okay, very good. Now, people who are watching this and are intrigued by your solution, want to learn more, how should they go about doing that?
SnapChip.ai is the best spot. We have examples there. We're kind of constantly adding more examples so you can get a sense of what's possible with the tool. So SnapChip.ai is a great place. You can reach out to me directly at efrank@snapchip.ai. And then would encourage you, if you're interested, to either reach out to me directly or book a demo with us. And a demo for us would really be more of a consult. It's more of a, what challenges do you have? We show you what we could do, much like we did today, but it's really a conversation about how can we execute processes for you and what's possible.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Everett, this has been very enlightening. It's a very cool solution. I like I said at the beginning, it's a different use of AI than I have seen, right? And especially leveraging the ChatGPT, which I think to date has mostly been used for marketing and within
Yeah,
the
yeah,
industry, right?
yeah.
So uh, I may be wrong there. So if I'm insulting anybody's solution, I didn't mean to, but that's but thank you for this. I look forward to seeing how this evolves over the next year and moving forward. And hopefully we get you back on to give some updates later in the year.
Wonderful. As I say, thanks again, Eric. I really appreciate it, and always enjoy so much talking with you. Look forward to doing it again.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.